Tonight, you may feel lonely in a room full of people. Your phone can glow beside you, messages can arrive, voices can play through a screen, and yet some ancient part of you may still feel abandoned. But the real answer is far stranger. Loneliness was never just the absence of company. It was an alarm. For most of human history, being separated from other people was not merely uncomfortable. It could be deadly. A person alone had fewer eyes watching for predators, fewer hands gathering food, less protection during sleep, and almost no help after injury. So when your ancestors felt alone, they did not treat the feeling as a private mood. They treated it as a problem that demanded action. What kind of action? Sometimes they moved closer to the fire. A prehistoric campfire was more than a source of heat. It was a social center. Around it, faces became visible after sunset. Food could be shared. Tools could be repaired. Children could be watched. Stories, warnings, gossip, and plans could pass from one person to another. The fire changed the night. Instead of darkness forcing everyone apart, it allowed people to remain together after the useful daylight hours had ended. Anthropologist Polly Weisner studied evening conversations among the Yu-Honsi people of southern Africa and found that nighttime talk was often different from daytime talk. Daytime speech focused more on practical matters. Firelight conversation leaned more towards stories, distant people, traditions, and the social imagination. That does not prove every ancient camp worked the same way, but it reveals something important. When the workday ended, connection did not become useless. It became the work. You may imagine ancient loneliness as a person sitting dramatically on a rock, staring into the distance. Real loneliness was probably quieter. A person might feel ignored after an argument. A widow might wake beside an empty sleeping place. A hunter might be separated from the group. A new mother might feel overwhelmed even while surrounded by relatives. What happened next? Your ancestors often repaired connection through small, repeated acts. They shared food. Food sharing appears across hunter-gatherer societies because one person's luck changes from day to day. A hunter may return with nothing today and succeed tomorrow. A family may find roots while another finds meat. Sharing reduces risk, but it also sends a message. You still belong here. That message mattered because the human body does not experience belonging as an abstract philosophy. It experiences belonging through behavior. Someone gives you a piece of food. Someone saves a place near the fire. Someone asks where you have been. Someone notices that you are missing. Psychologist John Cacioppo spent decades studying loneliness and argued that it functions like a biological warning signal. Hunger pushes you toward food. Thirst pushes you toward water. Loneliness pushes you toward social reconnection. But there is a trap. When loneliness lasts too long, the mind can become more alert to social danger. A neutral face may look hostile. A delayed reply may feel like rejection. A small disagreement may seem like proof that you were never wanted. Why would evolution create such a cruel loop? Because a lonely person in an ancient environment needed to detect real threats. Exclusion could mean losing protection, food access, mates, information, or status. Your brain became cautious because the cost of trusting the wrong person could be high. The same caution that once protected you can now keep you isolated. Ancient people had ways of reducing that distance without needing a formal conversation about feelings. They worked side by side. They gathered plants. They shaped stone. They carried wood. They prepared hides. They watched children. They walked familiar routes together. Shared activity made connection easier. You did not always need to explain your loneliness. You could simply join the task. Modern life often separates social contact from useful action. You may message someone only to talk. You may schedule friendship like an appointment. Ancient social life was usually embedded inside survival itself. You needed other people to live, so daily life kept pulling you back toward them. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar connected human social life to the limits of the primate brain. Monkeys and apes maintained bonds partly through grooming. Human groups became too large for every bond to be maintained by touch alone. Dunbar proposed that language helped humans connect with several people at once. A story could socially groom an entire circle. That makes gossip sound less trivial. In a small community, information about who helped, who cheated, who was angry, and who needed support was essential. Talking about people was one way to map the social world. When your ancestor felt lonely, conversation did more than fill silence. It located that person inside the group again. You are related to her. You owe him food. That child belongs near this fire. That old woman remembers the safe crossing. Identity was not stored in a profile. It was repeated aloud. Songs may have served a similar purpose. Singing synchronizes breathing, timing, and movement. Dancing brings bodies into rhythm. Ritual places many people inside the same pattern at the same time. Have you noticed how difficult it is to feel completely separate while moving in rhythm with others? Archaeologist Stephen Mithen has argued that music-like communication may have played a major role before fully developed language. The exact path is debated, but the social effect is easy to understand. A group singing together becomes easier to experience as one unit. The lonely individual is temporarily absorbed into something larger. Ancient loneliness also met a world filled with kin. This did not mean every family was gentle. Human groups could be violent, jealous, controlling, and unfair, but children were often surrounded by more than two caregivers. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy described humans as cooperative breeders, meaning that mothers often relied on fathers, grandparents, siblings, and other group members to help raise children. A human child evolved expecting many faces. That expectation may still live inside you. One person can love you deeply and still fail to meet every social need. Your nervous system may expect friends, relatives, neighbors, teachers, rivals, elders, children, and familiar strangers. Modern loneliness can appear even inside a loving household because the ancient social world was wider than a single relationship. What did your ancestors do when someone died? They remembered. Burials, grave goods, body positions, pigments, and repeated visits to certain places suggest that death was often socially meaningful far back into prehistory. Archaeologists debate what every burial proves, but deliberate treatment of the dead shows that a missing person could remain present in memory, ritual, and place. Grief was not solved by replacing the dead. It was carried by the group. A person might wear an ornament connected to someone. A story might preserve a name. A child might inherit a tool. A familiar landscape might hold the memory of an event. The lonely feeling could be answered by continuity. You are still part of a chain. This may explain why symbols became so powerful. Beads, pigments, scars, hairstyles, clothing, and body decoration could signal membership. A mark on the body told others where you belonged. It also told you. Social identity is partly visible. A shared symbol can reduce the uncertainty of entering a group because it answers the question before anyone speaks. Are these people mine? Sometimes the answer was painted, carved, worn, or sung. Ancient humans also likely used touch. Touch can calm the body because another person's presence changes how the brain calculates danger. Neuroscientist James Cone developed social baseline theory, which proposes that the human brain expects access to social resources. In his hand-holding studies, people facing the threat of an electric shock showed reduced threat-related brain activity when holding the hand of a trusted partner. Your brain does not treat support as a pleasant extra. It treats support as available energy. When another person stands beside you, the world can feel less expensive. A hill looks easier. A threat looks smaller. Pain becomes more tolerable. The body saves resources because help is near. This is why ancient people did not need to invent a cure for loneliness. Their entire lifestyle repeatedly supplied the ingredients of connection: proximity, shared labor, touch, rhythm, food, story, memory, But loneliness still existed. Groups excluded people. Status could collapse. Mates could leave. Families could die. Illness could isolate. Conflict could force someone away. The ancient world was not a permanent circle of friendship. And exclusion hurt. Psychologist Naomi Eisenberger used brain imaging to study social rejection during a virtual ball-tossing game called cyberball. When participants were excluded, brain regions involved in distress became more active. The popular summary says social pain is exactly the same as physical pain, which is too simple. But the research supports a deeper point. The brain treats rejection as a serious threat. Why would a fake game matter? Because the machinery reacting to exclusion is older than the screen. Your nervous system does not require a spear, a frozen wilderness, or a banishment ceremony. A tiny sign of being left out can touch the same ancient alarm. Your ancestors probably responded in several ways. Some tried harder to reconnect. They offered food, cooperation, information, humor, skill, or loyalty. Some approached relatives or allies. Some joined ceremonies. Some repaired conflict. Some moved toward another band where kinship or marriage ties offered a new place. Others withdrew. That response also makes sense. If rejection feels dangerous, hiding can prevent further injury. But withdrawal reduces the chance of receiving new evidence that you are safe. The alarm keeps ringing. You may do the same thing now. You feel unwanted, so you stop answering. You avoid the gathering. You wait for someone else to prove that you matter. No proof arrives because no one can see the test you created. Then, loneliness begins to look like evidence. Ancient life interrupted that cycle more often because isolation was difficult to maintain. Someone needed your hands. Someone noticed your empty sleeping place. Someone depended on your knowledge. The group could be frustrating, but it was hard to disappear quietly. Modern life makes disappearance easy. Food reaches your door. Work reaches your screen. Entertainment fills the room. 1,000 voices can speak without knowing that you exist. Your ancestors feared being alone in a silent landscape. You can feel alone inside endless noise. That is the counterintuitive truth. Technology did not create the need for connection. It removed many of the practical forces that once guaranteed repeated contact. You no longer have to gather around one fire. You no longer have to share the same hunt. You no longer have to walk beside the same people to survive. So connection becomes optional, and anything optional can be postponed. What would an ancient solution look like now? Probably not more scrolling. It would look ordinary. Eating with someone. Walking beside someone. Helping with a task. Joining a repeated group. Singing, playing, building, cooking, learning, or working in the same place at the same time. The activity matters because direct connection can feel too exposed when you are already lonely. A shared task gives your attention somewhere to rest. Conversation can emerge without carrying the full weight of rescue. Ancient people did not wait until they felt socially confident before participating. Participation created confidence. You may also need more than one person. Human connection was never designed to flow through a single narrow channel. A friend can offer humor. A relative can offer history. A neighbor can offer familiarity. A work partner can offer purpose. A group can offer identity. No one relationship has to become an entire tribe. And perhaps the oldest answer is simply to become useful to someone. This can sound harsh, as though love must be earned. That is not the point. In small communities, usefulness made belonging visible. You carried water. You remembered a path. You calmed a child. You repaired a tool. You told a story. Contribution gave the group a reason to notice you, and it gave you evidence that your presence changed something. Modern loneliness often asks, who will come toward you? The ancient mind may also ask, where can you contribute? Both questions matter. You are not weak for feeling lonely. The feeling is proof that your brain still expects a social world. It expects repeated faces, shared effort, physical presence, and a place where your absence would be noticed. The alarm is ancient. The environment is new. So tonight, you may feel lonely in a room full of people. But the feeling is not telling you that you are broken. It is telling you that somewhere inside you, an ancient fire is still waiting for someone to sit beside it.